In football, some men inherit glory. Others walk straight into fire. In March 2021, FC Barcelona was on the verge of collapse. Once the heartbeat of European football, it now bled from every corner. The club was over $1.3 billion in debt. The wage bill was suffocating. UEFA and La Liga circled like vultures. And the greatest player in the club's history was slipping away. The echoes of tiki-taka had faded into silence. The dreams of trebles were buried under lawsuits, debt, and scandal. The stadium felt empty. The fans felt betrayed. And in the boardroom? Only chaos. Barcelona wasn't just broken, it was dying. And then, in the middle of the storm, one man walked back through the fire. Not to be a hero, but to finish what he started. What made this moment so terrifying wasn't just the numbers, it was the hopelessness. Barcelona wasn't falling, it had fallen. The institution was no longer feared, but pitied. Financial analysts predicted collapse. Former legends distanced themselves. Even the most loyal fans began preparing for years of mediocrity. The soul of the club wasn't just wounded, it was bleeding out. Joan Laporta wasn't born in a locker room. He was a lawyer, a political figure, a Catalan nationalist. But more importantly, he was a believer, a socio, a fan. And in 2003, when Barcelona had lost its identity, he stood up. Not as a football man, but as a visionary. He didn't come with tactics, he came with purpose. He hired Frank Rijkaard, he signed Ronaldinho, and most importantly, he gave a young, unproven Pep Guardiola the keys to the kingdom. That decision didn't just shape a team. It birthed a dynasty. Under Pep, Barcelona played like no other team in history. Tiki-taka, total dominance. They won with beauty and ruthlessness. And Laporta's risk became legend. What Laporta understood, better than most presidents, was that football isn't just about results. It's about belief, identity, culture. He didn't sell hope. He delivered it. And in doing so, he became the symbol of a rebirth that would echo for generations. But after 2010, Laporta was gone. The throne was left to others. Bartomeu, Rosell, names that promised continuity but delivered chaos. At first, the ride seemed smooth. Neymar arrived, Suarez followed. The MSN trio lit the world on fire. But behind the scenes, something darker was brewing. Identity was sacrificed for marketing. The club spent hundreds of millions on failed transfers. Neymar left, Messi stayed, but his contract became an anchor. The wage bill ballooned. The debts piled up. And when the pandemic hit, the walls collapsed. Revenue died. Scandals leaked. Messi, heartbroken, asked to leave. The club refused. But the damage was irreversible. In October 2020, Bartomeu resigned in disgrace. What remained was ashes. The damage wasn't just financial, it was spiritual. The club lost its compass. It no longer stood for youth, for beauty, for unity. Instead, it became a bloated machine chasing past glories with expensive desperation. And with every wrong move, the gap between what Barcelona was and what it had become grew wider. And watching from the shadows was Joan Laporta, older, sharper, and ready. In 2021, he returned. Not to rebuild a team, but to revive an institution. There was no Messi to rely on, no money to spend, no time for politics, just fire. And a need for leadership. Laporta brought one thing others didn't. Memory. He'd rebuilt this before. And he would do it again. He didn't return for nostalgia, he returned with a knife between his teeth and urgency in his heart. There was no luxury of time or loyalty, only a mission. Resuscitate the club. Rebuild the foundation. And above all, remind the world that Barcelona never dies quietly. His first test was brutal. Messi wanted to stay. The fans prayed for it. And for a brief moment, it looked like the miracle would happen. A deal was agreed. Hope returned. But then reality hit. La Liga's financial rules left no room. Even with a massive pay cut, even with every backroom deal in motion, the numbers didn't work. Laporta was forced to choose. Messi or the club? He chose the club. On August 8, 2021, Lionel Messi said goodbye. There were no cheers, just tears. It was more than the end of a contract. It was the end of an era. Some called it betrayal. Others, bravery. But Laporta knew the truth. Keeping Messi meant sacrificing the future. And he wasn't here to delay the pain. He was here to end it. It was a decision that shook the footballing world. Not because Messi left, but because Laporta let him. The same man who once built a team around him now had to let go of the symbol he helped create. It was the ultimate sacrifice and the beginning of a painful rebirth. But pain demands action. And Laporta acted fast. With no money in the bank, he turned to what he called economic levers, selling chunks of Barca Studios, surrendering future TV rights. Critics screamed, "You're selling the soul of the club," they said. But Laporta didn't blink. Over 600 million euros were injected back into the club, and with money came movement. Lewandowski, Rafinha, Koundé, Christensen, Kessié, signings that stunned Europe. A club that was supposed to be bankrupt was roaring back to life. These weren't just signings, they were signals. Barcelona was not retreating, it was reloading. Every deal was a message to the world. We may be wounded, but we are not finished. Laporta understood the stakes. He wasn't spending recklessly. He was buying time, relevance, and revival. And in the middle of that chaos, Laporta brought back another piece of the past. Xavi Hernandez, the midfield general of the Guardiola years, now a coach, now the soul of the project. The team was ninth when he arrived, but soon belief returned. Youth was trusted, style was restored. And by May 2023, Barcelona were champions again. La Liga was theirs, and they did it with identity. With teenagers like Gavi and Pedri, with defense, with structure, with pride. Laporta had rebuilt the club, not just with money, but with meaning. Under Xavi, Barcelona didn't just win. They remembered who they were. The triangles came back, the patience, the rhythm, the soul. It wasn't perfect, but it was authentic. And that authenticity reignited a fan base starved of identity. But football has no patience. And the 2023-24 season brought cracks. Xavi's ideas stalled. The midfield faltered. No Champions League, no Copa, no spark. And Laporta, ever the architect, made another hard call. He thanked Xavi, and he hired a new face, Hansi Flick, a German tactician, obsessed with structure, ruthless with details. And the shift was immediate. The players leveled up. Christensen sharpened. Koundé became a wall. Lamine Yamal, still a teenager, began playing like a veteran. Flick didn't bring poetry. He brought precision. And Barcelona stopped reminiscing. They started believing. Laporta doesn't want applause. He wants silence. The kind that comes when something is done so perfectly, so boldly, that no one knows how to react. He knows the next elections are coming. He doesn't care. Because the legacy is sealed. Twice he found the club in ruins. Twice he brought it back to life. He let go of legends, he made enemies, he broke rules. But he never let Barcelona die. He didn't do it for credit. He didn't do it for statues. He did it because some men don't walk away from fire. They walk into it. Joan Laporta is not just part of Barcelona's history. He is its spine. And when the gates of the new Camp Nou finally reopen, it will not just be a stadium opening. It will be a tribute to a man who turned rubble into a throne.